It's about time I show you guys my TP collection. I just finished it, so let's get into it. Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be the pilot episode of a new series I'm starting. What we're going to be doing in this series is basically taking a look at every single set that was released in the TCG as well as the OCG, and basically breaking down all the prominent cards, the cards that are hard to grade, the super expensive ones, as well as anything that stands out to me overall. To kickstart the series, we're going to start with one of the hardest sets to complete in near mint to mint condition, the Tournament Pack series. Tournament Pack started in 2002 and it runs from TP1 all the way up to TP8. The first 5 sets of TP all come in these white boxes right here. These boxes are problematic in a collector sense because there's no way to know what's actually on the inside. You actually have to crack them open to know. This particular one is a TP3 box. What you're gonna find is that each of these white boxes houses 20 packs on the inside. And then what's interesting is that the last 3 sets come in booster boxes like this, or a box like this. And you can actually see what's on the outside from this plastic label right here. Another difference for these though is that these have 100 packs while the first 5 only had 20. This doesn't mean that there's actually more of these on the market. There's actually less because the game was going into a decline by this time. So, I mean, it's practically impossible to find any of these sealed. This is the only one that I found through like maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years of collecting. I've seen many of the 20 pack boxes though. And again, there's more sets of these. The most common one is TP5. Now, another interesting thing about TP is that it has its own unique pull ratios. For the most part, TP has 4 super rares as well as 1 ultra rare, a bunch of rares, and then the rest are commons. The rares are 1 in 3 packs. The super rares are 1 in 18 packs, while the ultra rares are 1 in 108 packs, which is insane. The way to acquire TP packs back in the day is very similar to OTS packs today. It's basically the exact same thing. It's just this is the modern version of them. If you win games at your locals, they basically give them to you for free, and inside are pretty epic cards that are meta relevant. In the case of TP, however, most of the cards are pretty much garbage and not usable, and if they are, they become extremely expensive. And I think that this is a perfect segue to get into the sets themselves, with Mechanical Chaser being one of the most infamous cards from TP. Right from the get-go, Mechanical Chaser held very high value because it was the first card introduced over 1800 attack. This makes it very historic, very nostalgic to a lot of the people that played back in the day. Nowadays, it's one of the more sought after TP cards. I wouldn't say it's the most sought after, however, it's definitely in the top 5. So that's Mechanical Chaser. Then we have Axe Trader, very prominent anime card, pretty useless because there was already 1800 beat sticks by then. Quagar Hercules, this card was super expensive for a very long time because it was one of the few printings of this card and it was needed in insect decks. Now it's kind of dropped off a little bit because they reprinted it. Patrol Robo is not really that prominent. White Hole is very often off center, so that's why PSA 10s hold a lot of value. I would say each one goes for around $1,000 in PSA 10. I wouldn't say that they are worthy of any more than that. Maybe Axe Trader at $1,500, but the rest definitely at around $1,000. Now the rares are very unique because, you know, people think of rares and they just think, oh, like this is not a good card. These cards are very hard to come by and they all go for at least like $50 in near mint condition. Graded, it doesn't gain that much of a value because I don't know why somebody would collect PSA 10s of rares, but some people do. The most prominent one is definitely Tiger Axe because I believe it's in the anime. However, the others are, you know, very collectible on their own because again, it's very difficult to pull these cards. What's really cool about TP1 as well is that the commons, they are absolutely useless. Like they are Bean Soldier, Ocello Hero, Giant Flea, all of them, like useless cards. But people have like this love for vanilla cards. They just have like kind of this uniqueness to them. In my opinion, I absolutely love them. A lot of people actually don't know that there's a number 2 to Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress. They always ask like, why is there number 1? Well, number 2 is in the TP set. It's pink, while obviously the SDY one is blue. Again, another cool thing about the vanillas back in the day is that they all had like kind of this italics font, while other cards like magic cards and effect cards all had the typewriter font. Every single one of these commons is starting to go up in price right now. I mean, some of them can hit like even 20, 25 bucks on a good day, especially if you have like a really minty one. So this is like, in my opinion, one of the most collectible sets out there, because for the most part, all the cards have a little bit of value, with only very few of them kind of like breaking the bank. So yeah, that's TP1 right here, and it ends off with Kuwagata Alpha. So yeah, that's TP1. TP2 has the infamous Morphing Jar. This card right here is easily the most expensive TP card in raw form, especially when you get to near mint, because this is actually still playable today in GOAT format, while most of the other cards are not. In raw form, you can be talking up to $2,000. This is definitely the chase card of most TP collectors. Again, we have the same pattern with 4 super rares. None of these are really that prominent, but they can still go up to like 100, 200 bucks for a raw near mint to mint copy. In PSA 10, they don't go for as much either because they're relatively easy to grade. You have to understand that this was Metal Raiders time, so basically the print quality was superb. Very rarely you get any issues on the cards. A prominent misprint is the Jinzo jar, which basically means that the jar itself has a silhouette of Jinzo. It is very expensive in the aftermarket, with PSA 9s getting like all the way up to like $4,500, which is ridiculous for a PSA 9. TP is not very difficult to grade in terms of the holos, but the rares, man. There are 2 rares which are obnoxiously difficult to acquire. This right here, I have never seen a center copy in my life. This one, and then Novox Prayer. I don't understand, because all the other ones have beautiful centering. They're very easy to grade. Perfect cards. It's just these 2, for some reason, I think they're like they're at least under pop 3. I honestly have not seen them, and I know people who are willing to pay up to like $1,000 for PSA 10s of these, which is like like mind-blowing, because it's just a rare. TP2, another interesting fact is that it was never released in any other language other than Korean. You can see, for example, a lot of mechanical chasers that have TP1-E001. This is a European release of TP1. For some reason, TP2 never had that treatment. This card is exclusively in English, and it is only North American, or you're gonna have to go to the Korean version. This is probably why this card is so damn expensive, to be honest with you. So that's the rares. Now we're gonna move on to the commons, and then TP2 has pretty much a full vanilla set. Every single card in here is at least $5. This one was hitting like all the way up to like 25 bucks at one point, because number 1, it's prominent from the anime, but number 2, there was very little printings of this. Queen of Autumn Leaves is a little bit difficult to get. I don't know if it was short printed or whatever, but this was very difficult for me to acquire in near mint to mint. Like, I had to look through many copies. Overall, my thoughts on TP2 are, it's definitely getting carried by Morphing Jar, but the fact that it was so short printed that there's no other languages out there makes this a very, very collectible set. I highly, highly recommend it. Next up is TP3 that you see on this page right here. TP3 is a little bit unique because this introduced a factor that I don't quite like in the TP set moving forward, which is basically reprinting the older cards. Like, I don't know why they did that. For example, they reprinted Mechanical Chaser here as a super rare. I don't really get it. I think they should have just kept it exclusive cards here. I think that's what makes TP1 and TP2 so great. But alas, they reprinted some cards and you're going to see them later on. Needleworm right here is by far the most off-center card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! There is nothing that comes close to just how often this card is off-center. I think this goes for around like 20 grand in PSA 10 because I think it's so low pop. It's very, very, very expensive. In raw form, it's around like the $300-400 range. But in PSA 10, that's when you're talking the big premium because every TP collector needs this. And a lot of them are scared of pursuing those PSA 10s because they know that they're going to have to fork out an arm and a leg for this card right here. Anti-Raigeki is a card that's very often off-center. Pretty much most of TP3 is really off-center. All of them are really low pop. Anti-Raigeki goes for like $1,000 in PSA 10. It's a very useless trap card, but again, I think it's under pop 5, so that's why it has such a premium. Mech Chaser as well. All of these are pretty much $1,000 each because of just how often they are off center. And then here you can see the reprinting that I'm talking about. You see the rares, they basically reprinted the TP1 super rares. So Axe Raider, Quagar, Patrol Robo, you'll find them right here. This is another reason why you'll see that I don't have the common set because again, they are all reprints. They lost that unique exclusivity that they had. And I'm not too interested in like collecting like just commons for no reason. So I decided to just stick with the rares. Like even the super rares are reprints. Like this is obviously debuted in Metal Raiders, Horn of Heaven. Like pretty much every single card has already been debuted. So I'm not too big of a fan of that. And you can see that I've obviously axed the commons in this section because moving forward I didn't want to collect cards that were just reprints for no reason. It's also important to know that TP3 also had the same treatment as TP2, which is basically it was only released in the English TCG as well as Korean. So TP2 and TP3 both have that. So that brings us to TP4. This has the very prominent Royal Decree. This card is absolutely huge. It goes for like $400-500 in near mint. Like an MP copy goes for like $200. It's absolutely insane. Everything else is a reprint, as you can see. Morphing Jar, again, they reprinted the ultra rare from TP2 right here. Megamorph, Chain of Destruction. Obviously, all of these are PSV cards as well as Magic Ruler cards. These are the super rares from TP2. They were reprinted as rares. In terms of gradability, pretty much every single card from TP4 is hard to grade, especially like the super rares. The ultra rare is not too bad, but it still fetches a very high dollar price. I think this goes for around like $3,000 to $4,000 in PSA 10. There's no misprint or anything like that. And again, the commons in this set are just reprints of other commons. So I didn't think that it was wise collecting them. And again, just like the previous two sets, this set was only released in the English TCG as well as the Korean. No cards have ever surfaced of any prefix other than the regular English one as well as Korean for TP2, TP3, as well as TP4. So that was TP4. Now that brings us to the least expensive set of them all, which is TP5. For some reason, this set was printed to oblivion. If you go look online, you will find that pretty much every single person who is selling TP packs are selling TP5. All the other sets are very hard to come by. Everything is super expensive when it comes to TP, except for TP5. These are extremely cheap, and it kind of makes sense because the cards on the inside are pretty crap. Luminous Soldier is by far the weakest ultra rare so far, and this was like $200 in PSA 10 for the longest time. Now it's like $500. This is kind of unheard of for the original ones. Like this is, like I said, $5,000. TP2 Morphing Jar is like at least $6-7 grand, and then Mechanical Chaser is at least $5,000 as well. The fact that this is $500-600 tells you just how unloved it is. This set also introduced the EN prefix, so every single card after this in TP all have TP5, TP6, whatever, dash EN001 and so on. This kind of ended the era of North American English as well as European English. Now they're one and the same. They are all EN. One thing that I want to mention that I forgot to mention earlier is that TP1 all the way up to TP4 are the only sets in the TCG that have a gold stamp at the bottom right, but there's no first edition or limited edition indicators above the text box. Usually, it always has to have one of these two in order for it to have a gold stamp. However, TP is the only one that never had that, and this got changed after TP4, so you'll see with TP5, they all have silver stamps. This set is also probably the best printed set in all of TP. Every single card of these is almost always well centered, and they have really high pops in PSA 10. Big Shield Gardener is probably the most notable one, as well as the Needleworm, but overall the set is quite forgettable, and even the rares, I mean, they're just reprints of older cards. I think after they released this and how much it failed, Konami definitely brought back the fire with TP6 with introducing brand new cards again. Toon Cannon Soldier debuted here. Toon Table of Contents debuted here. I'm pretty sure that these two had either their first or second printings in TP, but these two definitely debuted in this set, and these are probably some of the most expensive TP cards in Raw. I do believe Toon Table of Content is usable. This has the same printing quality as TP5, so every single card is pretty much immaculate, very high PSA 10 pops, and relatively easy to find in near mint condition. The rares are pretty much, I believe, all Legacy of Darkness reprints. However, they brought back commons that are debuting in these TP sets again. So Archfiend Marmot, Sleeping Lion, Nico Gal #1, Burglar, and Clown Zombie. All of them started in TP6. You might see a spot here that is missing. That's because I haven't figured out if I should just put a reprint common in here or what. For some reason, like it doesn't go even. They only printed 5 commons in this set instead of 6. So yeah, I had to basically bite the bullet. So I'll probably just put one of the reprint commons in here and just call it a day. They obviously had to reprint Royal Decree because this card was expensive AF back in the day. So this was a nice, healthy reprint for the market. But overall, I really like the move that they did here with TP6. I think that they made a great choice starting to introduce newer cards that, you know, it's not just the ultra rare, which is 1 in 108 packs. Now you get to see cool, unique commons be introduced as well. Moving on to TP7. Here we have some very, very expensive super rares, especially Breaker the Magical Warrior. Another very expensive card from this set is Fortress Whale. This is the debut, and for a long time this was never reprinted. This is obviously a Mako Tsunami card, and it was very, very prominent in the anime. Again, you guys know I love my ritual cards, so yeah, this was definitely a must-have. DD Warrior right here is a very expensive card as well because it's usable in the game. This is garbage and this is garbage. And then again, these are reprints from like Pharaoh's Servant, Magician's Force, as well as Starter Deck Joey. The commons here are also following suit with TP6. These guys are all brand new commons. This is one of those easier to grade sets. Every single card in here is amazing quality, and you'll not have a hard time grading a PSA 10 if you pull one of these cards in a pack opening. All right, so that's the TP7 complete. Let's move on to the last set in tournament pack, which is TP8. This set is arguably the hardest to find in terms of booster packs. A big reason for that is this card right here. Harpy's Feather Duster in this alternate art goes for over $800 in Raw, okay? This is the most expensive copy of this card, and it's the one that most people use when they try to bling out their GOAT decks. This card is absolutely beautiful. I do believe that this card incentivized a lot of people to open up their packs, and that's why there's not many remaining. So this set, just like the others, had 4 super rares, 1 ultra rare, and then a bunch of commons and rares. The super rares here are really well done. The only one that's a reprint is like Slate Warrior. Harpy's Feather Duster isn't really a reprint because it's an alternate art. These 2 are original introductions in the tournament pack series. So Dunamis has never been printed before, and then Garma, the only printing of this card is this one right here. So that's kind of really interesting and really cool in terms of like just card lore. Magical Arm Shield shows up a lot in the TV show, but it's not really playable in the game. All of these are actually quite easy to grade if you pull them. However, good luck trying to pull them because you're not going to be able to find these packs come up for sale. I honestly don't remember the last one actually went up for sale on eBay. So yeah, like whatever's on the market today is what you're going to find. The centering is great on all of them. I would say that these 3 go for around like $500 a pop. And then this one goes for around $3,000 to $4,000 in PSA 10. And this one can go all the way up to like $2,000 in PSA 10. The rares in this set are like the 4 original Monarchs, which is kind of cool. Like, I mean, if you're going to do a reprint, at least make it fit a theme. So that's kind of awesome. And then the commons are again completely original commons that have not been introduced in the TCG before. First, there's the Garma Sword Oath, which is the ritual card for Garma Sword. And then a bunch of commons that are vanillas, totally useless. But I think Konami figured that, you know, they're going to need to get them out into TCG some way. So they just put them in this set, which I don't mind at all. This set overall is quite nice. I would definitely say if you can find some sealed booster packs, hang on to them because they never really pop up for sale. And if you find any of these cards in the wild, I highly recommend you pick them up because these are great collector pieces. So that's every unique card in TP1 all the way up to TP8. This is one of my favorite sets and it really houses a lot of the nostalgic old vintage era of Yu-Gi-Oh! It covers GOAT while at the same time it still has a lot of those useless vanillas that we all know and love. So to me, I think that TP is like one of those GOAT sets. Like, it's not huge enough where it's like it deters you from collecting it, but at the same time it offers a little bit of uniqueness compared to everything else that was released at the time. I think that this is one of the most collectible sets in Yu-Gi-Oh! If you are like an old head like me, you love the vintage stuff, I highly recommend you go after these cards. I just completed my set. Everything in this is pretty much pack fresh mint. They would at least get PSA 9s, and I'm so happy to be done with this. So yeah, that's my presentation on the TP sets. I really hope you enjoyed that. I tried to give you as much information as possible so that I can help you embark on your own collecting journey if you decide to get this set. I highly recommend it because it's well contained. I mean, this is what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5. 7 times 9, that's what, 63 multiplied by 2 because 2 pages, 126, and then you add another 9, so 135. It's 135 cards in total. Like, if you're collecting this, if you're trying to get the other commons that are reprints, it's going to be another like 25 cards. But just this set right here, you're going to be talking 135 cards. And in my opinion, that's like the perfect amount to keep you chasing, keep you collecting while not being overwhelming. Of course, the big cards are going to cost you money, but I think you'll be able to pick them up along the way as you collect the smaller stuff. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this series and you guys want to see more, I have a lot more coming, like McDonald's promos. Here I have the Hobby League promos. Definitely hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be doing videos on every single one of these sets, going over the release and any special cards inside of there. Like the video if you learned something. Comment down below what TP set is your favorite or how you would actually order them. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, if you want to support me, use the links in the description below. It'll give me a small kickback at no cost to you and it'll help me make more videos for you guys. I hope you enjoyed that and I really hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.